Hi, I'm Lori Grunin, Senior Editor with CNET, and this is the Sony Alpha NEX-5. Sony isn't pulling any punches with its entry into the interchangeable lens camera market. Its debut models, the Alpha NEX-3 and the NEX-5, are the smallest entrants to date, and are pretty aggressively priced, in the $600 to $700 range, given their features. The cameras are nearly identical, differing only in two ways. They have slightly different body designs, with the higher-end NEX-5 composed of magnesium alloy, and the NEX-5 offers full HD AVC HD video recording. For those, you pay about $100 more. Both cameras come in kits with either an 18 to 55mm or 16mm pancake prime lens. The new all-aluminum Sony E-mount lenses dominate the NEX-5's body, and they feel great with a smooth rotation. The 18 to 55 feels a bit large for the compact body, and I suspect the 18 to 200mm lens will really overwhelm it. You should also keep in mind that unlike the Alpha DSLRs, which have image stabilization built into the camera, the NEX models use optical stabilization in order to achieve the smaller body sizes. The lenses use a new E-mount. Sony will be offering an adapter for using non-E-mount Sony lenses with the NEX models, but as with most competitors, the adapters don't support autofocus. The camera itself was pretty well designed and easy to grip and shoot. It doesn't have a built-in flash, but does ship with a small add-on flash that uses a proprietary connector. Sony will also have an add-on microphone. Sony makes the same mistake as Olympus did with the EP1 and forgoes an electronic viewfinder. Though the company doesn't say it will support one, I'm hoping that the accessory connector can be retrofitted for it. And while the large LCD is certainly nice and high resolution, with a brighter backlight than that on the A550 DSLR, I still had some issues viewing it in bright sunlight. The LCD does tilt, which helps, and of course tilting is a really nice feature, but still wasn't enough to compensate to allow me to view it properly. The interface has a few fixed buttons, such as drive mode and exposure compensation, while the rest are contextual depending upon the camera mode. Overall, the scheme works pretty well, but there are some irritating quirks to the menu system. For instance, you can't scroll backwards to get from the first entry in a menu to the last. Also, while I generally like the scroll wheel's operation, when using it for the virtual mode dial, I keep flying past my target. The NEX-5 carries over a lot of the features from Sony's point-and-shoots. Though it doesn't use the Exmor-R back-illuminated sensor, the new 14-megapixel APS-C size sensor is fast enough to support features like sweep panorama, which dynamically stitches together a burst of shots into a 23-megapixel image, handheld twilight mode, which automatically combines 6 shots to optimize the dynamic range in low light, and a 3-shot auto HDR mode. The handheld twilight does very well with low light images. It's not practical in every situation though, because it still has to process the buffered images, which takes a while to save. And while the sweep panorama still suffers from some unavoidable artifacts, such as Picasso-like pieces of people walking through the scene, it does capture enough detail that it doesn't look so bad when you zoom in. In July, Sony will be releasing a firmware update that can process the sweep panorama shots into stereoscopic 3D images for playback on supporting TVs. The camera feels fairly fast, though the autofocus system tends to be inconsistent. Most of the time it's quite decisive, but occasionally hunts for no reason that I can figure out. Overall, the photo quality is really good, and the camera has a very nice noise profile for its price class, especially in situations where handheld twilight is practical. But there are caveats. For one, it has the same unfortunate issues with Sony's creative styles that all of the company's DSLRs do. The default renders inaccurate colors, and there's no natural creative style option, not even in the bundled RAW software. Also, though the 18 to 55 kit lens is pretty sharp, it has some of the worst distortion I've seen on a non-point-and-shoot camera of late. That includes barrel distortion at the 18mm end and pincushion at the 55mm end. Video is sharp and the lenses are really quiet, both for zooming and focusing, but you've got practically no controls. While it has built-in stereo mics that are reasonably separated physically, the audio sounds a bit tinny, and the camera really needs a wind filter. More than any other interchangeable lens camera I've seen, the NEX-5 seems optimized for the point-and-shoot upgrader. Not necessarily because it's easier to use than any other or that it's priced particularly low, but because it's full of constraints that will probably bother enthusiasts a lot more than snap shooters. That's a pity, because the video quality, photo quality, and performance are really appealing. I'm Lori Grunin, and this is the Sony Alpha NEX-5.